Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Board of Health meeting for Thursday, November 13th, 2025. Just a reminder, we are being recorded. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Tom here.
Joyce here.
Alan here.
Colleen here.
Jack here.
Good and welfare for the public. Anyone in the audience, at home or here? I don't see anybody.
Nope.
All right. We are going to go to old business. We're going to take the agenda out of order. We're going to go to 5A, 5 Harrington Street. Noise nuisance update, please.
Well, since our last meeting, I have spoken with the property owner, Jason Meehan, who was present. I believe the business.
Alex said he was coming.
Yep, he should be on his way. So we discussed the last meeting. As you know, the backup alarms have been removed. I did reach out to Lucy Mayella Fernandez from the DOT regarding the Hans. And the concern about them. And she wrote back to me to let me know that they cannot allow for all sound horns, etc., to be turned off for safety purposes. The state police are the ones who approve the Commonwealth Drive and School Range. So I did not pursue the horn blowing any further based upon the guidance from Ms. Fernandez. As far as the engine revving goes, Alec was going to explain in the process of conducting the schooling for them to learn how to drive a truck. There are times when they do rev the engine to shift the gears, and that's all part of the process for the school as well. So I asked Jason if he would come
Sit up here.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, introduce yourself.
Jason Meehan, 9 West Hill Road.
And you're representing
I own the property at 5 Harrington
Right.
Street.
under the.
Determination Inc. I'm sorry.
No, just so everybody knows.
Yeah. So I also brought 2 letters from 2 abutters that are at 65 and 69 Milford Street talking about the noise and how they really haven't seen an extreme difference from the trucks. I didn't know if that would interest the board at all.
Sure.
You can pass that to Colin.
Thank you.
Now, just a quick question, only because I know that you may own some other properties on Route 16.
Yeah.
Are these,
No, so I own one of those, 69 Milford Street.
you
It's
own
a
69?
multi-family, yes.
Okay. Well, you don't own 65?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
So as far as, I don't know how much further the board wants to pursue the complaints in light of the fact that we received a letter from the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles advising us as far as the horn blowing goes. I was hoping that Alec would be here to explain a little bit more in detail because it's not my area of expertise as far as in the course of the school operation itself, that it's not a constant thing. It happens, the hours of operation are from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So in the course of the business day, then there may be, depending upon how many classes there are, the horn blowing is an essential part of the training for the school, and the revving happens when there's, shifts in the gear, as far as what I was advised by Lucy and by Alec for the school.
And I'm not mechanically inclined like Alec is, but from my understanding, what it is when they start a truck up, there's something called a cut in, cut out. And they have to rev the truck between 1200 and 1500 RPM for that to click in. And that's when you hear that kind of air brake sound. they're required to do that to make sure that it's working every time they start the truck. So there's really not much we could do about that.
Well, and I know that I brought up at a meeting that these guys are learning to drive. They're learning, how to find first gear and second gear. They're learning how to secure the trailer after they hitch the trailer up and make sure that before they leave the lot, the trailer is hitched up correctly. That is going to involve some engine noise, I'll call it. It's the better they get at it, when they graduate, the less that's going to happen. So I understand the engine noise.
So there's also in the process, they're also taught in the course of the schooling, the classroom, is that before they start to operate one of these trucks, they have to perform a safety inspection. And part of that safety inspection is blowing the horn in the process that Jason just explained. So that is in the normal course of the school operating, this particular type of school. So that's where I am with it. I don't know how much further the board wants to pursue it.
How long is the class? Like if you're, say I wanted to learn how to do it,
Yep.
how long would it be that I would have to be in there doing that?
So I don't know exactly, but I believe each class runs 3 to 4 weeks. Like they're there for a significant amount of time because it is a big thing, and they're at CDLs. And like she said, the state troopers are the ones who do the tests and everything. So he's making sure that they know what they're doing before they get out.
Right.
So it is a significant amount of time. And as you said, it is one of the things where there's certain guys that need to learn something a little bit more than other guys. So someone might be in the truck learning the cut in, cut out a little bit longer than the person before them. They need to learn it to be able to pass the test. So that's really kind of where it's hard to limit, especially hours of doing something, because if someone, that's the one thing they need to learn to pass it, it's really all what he needs to teach them.
Tom?
Well, this whole kind of issue kind of for me centered around whether or not it was an accidental impairment to the neighbors surrounding the property. And we knew it's going to be pretty consistent that the view from the horn or the alarm perspective, that was definitely a validated issue. So I'd probably ask, Colleen, what is your take on what you've been experiencing sound-wise with these other noises, the engine revving and the horns? What would be your viewpoint on whether or not they'd be considered an impairment?
I can tell you that the other day, Jack and I were up there meeting with Jason and Alec. There was a class going on. We were outside in the yard. We were down by the culvert, and there was no impairment as far as us engaging in conversation and the ability to hear each other while we were conversing. I didn't experience it. How about you, Jack?
No.
That's kind of what it's always been from my perspective. We're not able to validate that we actually have an actual level of noise nuisance that rises to that level of public health nuisance that would impair public well-being. And that, to me, would be the basis for us potentially moving forward. Not moving forward.
You join?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Tom Bellman, 34 Crestview Drive.
Cindy Van Slet, 32 Crestview Drive.
Nice to meet you.
So, not to interrupt, I want to be part of the conversation, that's all. And just start out by saying we are very thankful that the backup alarms have stopped. That was huge. And the other sounds, although intermittent, we can still hear them. Nowhere near the level of the backup alarms. That was a big thing. And between the property owner and the trucking company, it's big. The other noises, if they can't be, in my opinion, administratively corrected, maybe if you still have to rev, you still have to honk the horn, and the noises are there, then maybe we'll look at other things. Engineering controls such as fencing or something else around the property. Or you know, is the horn, is it a standard issue horn? Or can we get it quiet? You know what I mean? Like, I'm very little knowledge about this stuff. So I was quieting the engines down and things like that.
Do we know, Colleen, are there variables to the horn?
Well, we can ask Alec right now. This is Alec who operates the school. I shared with them the letter that, from Lucy
Yes.
at, the DOT and what her determination was. So Mr. Bellin is asking the question regarding the horn, if there is a different kind of horn that can be installed.
No, unfortunately, there is not.
Is it like a standard requirement of a certain horn that has to be installed in the vehicle? And is that in fact what's installed, the trucks that you use at the school?
The trucks came from the manufacturer, so we have not modified any trucks.
Can I speak on the other half of that, as far as the engineering and wall goes? So that whole site, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to go down there. That whole site is berm, and it's a significant berm. It's in most places, it's 10 to 15 feet. A berm is considered a sound barrier for a property, and I believe that if we were to do this again, go through before planning board and everything, and that property sat as is with just nothing on it like it was before, for a sound bar, sort of for a sound wall, I'd be asked to put up a berm. The berm's already there, and in a lot of places, it does have significant vegetation. And where it doesn't have significant vegetation, there's almost 200 feet of vegetation in between the nearest resident. So I do feel that the site was designed with keeping everyone in mind. I don't know of many other sites in Mendon that have a berm or something like that around the complete site.
I agree. It was, I think in general, well thought out. You know, there's berms everywhere. On our side, we're kind of facing our neighborhood. The lot tilts down. And so I don't know if it's like echoing towards the neighborhood. I'm not an expert on, I'm not a sound.
And I'm not either. That's just in development. I have done sound mitigation a little bit with the berms, and we did use that up there for sound mitigation.
And as a neighbor, when they were originally designing it, it looked good. Like I heard them explaining it. The engineer actually explained what they were doing. This is going back to like several years, but so there was obvious input and thought that went into the property. But just for some reason, it seems to echo in our direction, whether it's bouncing off the other walls. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not.
It's my understanding that the only breaks in that berm are where there is a catch basin.
Exactly, to release the water if it gets too high over there.
Is there any way to extend the berm by means of a fence that was suspended off the ground so that it wouldn't interfere with the water drainage, but it may fill those gaps?
So those gaps, you saw the gap there. It's not a significant gap. It's probably, I don't know, like a 5 foot wide gap, and it's probably 2 or 3 feet high. I could actually, what I could do, and I'd be willing to do this, is I could fill it with riprap. It's just like the rest of the berms, and it'll allow the water to penetrate through it at the same time. I really don't believe doing some type of fence there it's really not going to do anything, in my opinion. I believe you have there's almost 200 feet in between the residents. I believe if that's not enough, there's no type of vegetation that I'm going to be able to put up there that's going to be able to stop every single sound going through. I am willing to do that if that's something that the board would want me to do.
Okay, now, provided that your engineer or conservation or whoever.
Yes,
I wouldn't want
we have to, yeah, exactly.
We'd modify it.
We'd have to make sure it didn't exactly affect any of the site plan review or anything like that. But that would be something I'd be willing to do.
Ma'am?
The beeping issue was nice to have go away. I still find that if I can see the trucks, then there's not vegetation because there's line of sight. I know somebody cut down a bunch of trees from Route 16, which is kind of right in that area. I would call it's a nuisance. to, like, if you're sitting in your house, you can always hear when an oil truck drives by. It's a different noise. It's a much heavier, sturdier vehicle. And we hear that. We hear that from the hours of, 8 to 4. It's not constant because they're not, it's not a circle that they're, just constantly doing it, but there's multiple trucks doing it. The horns, to me, it's kind of like whatever. It's not nearly as often. I can hear it through my closed windows. But it's the quality of life that has diminished. In the neighborhood. It really has.
All right, the only thing I'll say before I like my board members, especially Tom, to speak, is the property that you're talking about with the rear of the property, they eliminated a lot of trees. That has nothing to do with this. If you are unhappy about what that gentleman did or couple did, then you'd have to approach them.
Well, what I'm saying is it was brought up that there's 200 feet of
Right, but I
vegetation.
believe he's referring to the property that he owns and controls.
I'm just talking about in between her house and the edge of my property. It's 200 feet of, it's a forest for all intents and purposes. There's trees there, there's bushes, and that's what I would consider vegetation.
So I don't want to confuse the addresses.
No, but I mean, it sounded like the implication was that I can't even see them because of vegetation.
Well,
I'm just trying to clarify.
This time of year, we can all see a lot more.
No,
Unfortunately,
you could have gone back to middle of June and
okay,
and you could.
all right. Tom,
Well, I don't know that we could do anything about the site aspect.
No, and I'm not asking you to. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that the mention of,
Implication of
all this
vegetation.
berm on this lot
Yeah.
to prevent noise coming through. My comment to that is I can see, so there's no berm that I can see.
Right. The point being that if you can see it, the vegetation that's being referenced may not be as in-depth as maybe it might have to be, right?
Right.
And not that these gentlemen could do anything about the vegetation aspect, but from my perspective, it's always been about how the noise affects the neighbors, right? And whether or not these noises rise to the level of being a public health issue, as far as being, classifying as a nuisance. If it does, then should be something that I expect any neighbor to do to mitigate that noise. And so the key question for me is, does it rise to that level? You don't know how often you've been up there, how regularly you've been up there.
Often enough, and like I said, I was right in the parking lot, having a conversation with Jason and Alec and Jack, and the school was operating, and I could easily converse with them, and I could, we could interact without interruption.
I mean, from the perspective of at the ones, I don't know how often you've been there and just kind of listening and for a period of time or.
The thing is that it's a school and it's operating. And the requirements of the school for the CDL training is horn blowing and engine revving. Those are requirements.
And that may be the case. We were also told up front that there was nothing they could do about the, lo and behold, now we have no backup.
Because we work together on it.
Can I just speak on
I'm
that?
just told, hold on a second. I'm just saying what we were told up front, what was told to us that we were told. but nothing could be done with those. And then lo and behold, they're gone.
I like to, it's easier to say like only because then the horn was gone, but I do have a huge liability because I took out the horn alarms, and I did that because that was a way that I could find, that I could control to help you guys with the noise.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, and I know that, but Tom, I do believe it very disrespectful for you to come here and talk and say like that. It's just disappear because it is a very huge liability that I'm taking on my business. And I'm having my instructors and myself to be watching out for when the truck's backing up because there's no sound at all. Because even if I were to put like a white something, it would still disturb them. I have spent over $7,000 because the trucks were backing up to that property. And then I was like, okay, I'll change it. So it's backing up to the street now. There's no backing up alarm. The revving is not even on. So I did not really like it the way they said that the horn just literally disappeared. I found out not very nice there.
Well, again, it's not that we're asking that all noise should cease. But really a question of whether or not the noise that exists rises to the level of being classified as a public nuisance, where we as a Board of Health should take action and see other things happen. But what I'm hearing is it doesn't seem to be the case as represented by our health agent, that's the things as far as these.
And as far as the backup alarm, Bill, we were advised against that by several different boards to remove the backup alarms. I believe even when the Board of Health contacted the DEP, they advised against it. And I was advised against it by my insurance company not to do it. So it is a big liability for us and me as the property owner to take on. And that is something that we did feel was being a good neighbor to try and do that. But that is a liability that we're taking on, and that being a school, that is a pretty big thing.
And I personally appreciate that. But at the same token, I'll kind of go to what it said. If there's any kind of a nuisance that exists in a neighborhood, whether it's a business or a resident, and it doesn't impair the livelihood and the well-being of another neighbor, from a Board of Health perspective, it shouldn't exist. But some of the health agent is saying that that's not, this particular set of noises are not rising to the level where I think we can take action beyond what you might be able to voluntarily do to help.
And that's, I guess that's where we're at now. Backup alarms are big, as I keep mentioning. Made a big difference. And a lot of neighbors can't hear the noises anymore, right? But it does affect a few of us. And it's one thing to conduct a business meeting. It's another thing to sit in your back deck and with your laptop, right? So, and is it, life threatening? No, it's not. Does it get to you after a while? It does. But I would say, is there anything else to either mechanically or logistically or any other controls we could put in to quiet down a little more? That's all. Like, can we soften this a little more? Just these other alarms, like I want to say 65%. All right, of the nuisance noise, in my opinion, opinions vary with that, is like super helpful. Most times we don't hear anything. And when the engines start revving, the horns blow, we hear it. Again, a lot of times we go out in the backyards just to relax. Just get some work done, whatever it may be. And all we're asking is there anything else we could potentially do here that won't cost a fortune, that, maybe we could just put our heads together, work together collectively, and maybe we do certain things at certain times. I don't know. I don't run the school, but it's your business. That's all. Just that other, say, 35%, right? Can we do something to soften the blow, if you will?
Yeah, I would simply ask, maybe is there anything administratively and how you operate the school from a schedule perspective that could kind of help? That's that the consistency component isn't quite the same as it gets lessened.
I wish there were, right? I really wish, but unfortunately, there's not. We're a school and you're Colin even asked me about the Saturdays, and we've been trying our best. to close even before, for you to help you guys. And we've been actually able to accomplish that many, many times. So, but for guys, mechanically wise, logistics, nothing we can do.
Joyce?
Well, I'll just say this, about 2 weeks ago, I think, I went down Crestview and walked all around the back of everybody's yard, and when I was there, to be perfectly frank, I didn't hear bad noises, I didn't, again, I'm at sort of a disadvantage because I live on Route 16, so I have a ton of bad noises. And it's, but I walked the whole area. I came down into your spot too and came back, left my car up on Crestview and
Was
walked.
that today?
What?
Was that today?
No, that was like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And because I was, and I'm that person that gets, sort of praised about what I'm doing. So I did all that walking and I was in your backyard. I left the car.
Yes, I saw that.
The car. I walked in your backyard. I walked all the way down there and at that point, and again, I'm at a different disadvantage because I have noise all the time. And I've had to learn to live with it, quite frankly. And it's not just 8 to 4. And it's not just Monday through Friday. So I understand what you're saying again, but it didn't seem that bad to me, quite frankly.
Anybody at home that would like to comment on this topic? Nobody? All right. At this time, if, there is, this noise has not at the level where we can take any kind of an action. I think we need to at least, for now, put this to rest in some fashion. I would, wouldn't hesitate to revisit it if, something else came up, but that 65% that you mentioned, Tom, is probably where we're gonna be for a while. Maybe the school will do so well that they'll need a bigger site.
All right, well,
Hey, listen, but you don't know, it's a business owned site. You don't know what could come in there after it, and I mean, I
Yeah,
completely
we've
understand.
never had a problem with the school. I think it's pretty neat that we have it in the town. I'm an educator myself. So it's, no problem there. Just with the backup alarms, like I said, great. It's awesome. I know a lot of thought and work went into that. And on Colleen's part, the owner's part, owner of the driving school, the manager. So much appreciated. And again, our only ask at this point is if there's anything possible that we could do, we would certainly appreciate it. That's all.
Monitor the situation. I'd like to be optimistic that when things leaf out in the spring, that you get even more relief. I mean, I completely understand, the liability of removing backup alarms. My small dump truck won't pass inspection if the backup alarm doesn't work. So I have some exposure to the need for that safety equipment. Unless there's something that could be done on your side of the property, fencing, trees, a berm, I don't know at this point where we can go from here with that other 35% that you mentioned. And I do remember in the letter that the neighborhood produced, that you were grateful to our truck drivers. So you've been very, very fair from the beginning. But unless I would have another idea, I think we've kind of exhausted what we can do at this time.
I could think of, again, for me, it's based on what's been determined for what the board can do, and if the noises that are being, heard and monitored don't rise to that level. And I don't know if there's any action that we could.
Well, one more question I just kind of thought of was, on the berms themselves, there's stone. And, sound reflects off of hard objects. That's the extent of my knowledge on sound engineering. Is there any way we could put some like creeping bushes or something on there that could soften them up, if you will? I don't know, if that's even possible. Can it grow there? I don't know.
So, yeah, could it grow there? Yes. Is it gonna do anything? I really don't believe so, no. You're gonna be putting a bush where there's already, again, almost 200 feet of bushes in between. And I get it, the leaves are gone, it's not as full as it would be normally. But I really don't believe that would do anything, to be 100% honest with you.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask something.
Well, and again, I wouldn't hesitate to revisit this in the future if things were to change in any way. But for now, I think we have to be satisfied with the 65% that we've been able to achieve. Again, I mean, are your properties fenced in?
No.
Would a fence at your property line help?
No, because of the slope,
High.
Okay.
so it's like,
We'd have to put up a 50-foot fence to.
Right.
That wouldn't work.
But trees, I mean, when I walked your back property, there were quite a few trees. And
the way my yard slopes is I don't own a lot past where that drainage easement
Right.
is.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can do much
something else, yeah.
because
Yes, sir.
Richard? You're on mute. Nope, still on mute.
Can you tell him how to get him stuff on?
We don't know what device he's on.
Press the space bar.
But you can see his mic's on.
Right,
Yeah.
it's not on.
No, he's on mute.
At any rate,
I thank everyone for appearing, and, I appreciate both sides trying to be good neighbors.
I want to thank Alec and Jason and for all the work that they were willing to do as well on behalf of the neighborhood. They really truly are trying to be good neighbors. It is a commercial business that your residential property abuts. And I think that they truly went out of their way to improve the conditions so that you guys could enjoy your property.
And thank you also for your work on this. I know you spent a lot of time with meetings and contacting a lot of folks and the board's time as well. So I appreciate it. Yeah.
Feel free to reach out in the future if anything changes or there's anything that we can do.
and thank you all for coming in.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. I'll be talking to you. Jason.
Thank you very much for the
Yep.
time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're gonna move to agenda item 4B, Gasco tobacco sales suspension discussion. because Abe is here. If you'd like to come up, Abe.
All right, so I just want to give a brief overview. On Tuesday, September 16, 2025, Colleen and Kathleen DeBoer, Tobacco Control Inspector for the Massachusetts Health Officers Association, or MHOA, had conducted a tobacco compliance check in all permitted tobacco establishments in Mendon, and unfortunately, Gaskell Field was found in violation of 105 CMR 665.010B for an unlocked humidor. On Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025, Board of Health held its open meeting, and Gaskell Field's tobacco violation was a topic on its agenda. All board members were present at this meeting, along with Colleen, Kathleen DeFore, and Abraham, the establishment owner of Gaskell Field. Kathleen stated to the board that she approached the humidor and slid the glass door open, and the lock that was on the glass door fell to the floor, so the humidor was not in a locked state. Colleen also confirmed this as well. Abraham stated that the lock was on the humidor and was in a locked state, but the may have failed and slid off. So tonight, presented to the board for discussion and looking for the board to revote and uphold the $2,000 fine and impose a 7-day suspension for the tobacco sales permit, and a specific 7 days it will be imposed.
Give you the first opportunity, sir.
We talk about what happened.
Is there anything further that you'd like to add?
Well, the fact is that I had a log. It wasn't used for a long time, maybe 4 or 5 years. We don't sell cigars. And it must have been dry, the glue on the lock. But the lock key is in the cash register and never been opened or tried to sell any of the product because it's not good. Now, what I was thinking logically, if you come to open a door, if you're a customer, and the lock falls, you're not going to open it and help yourself with any cigars. So you're going to say, hey, listen, this lock fell down. I didn't break it. But the lock fall, if it was, because gravity, if it wasn't locked, it will fall. It's not going to hang on the glass. So it was locked. But I guess any little movement, it was going to fall on the ground. And it happened when they came. I wish somebody knocked it or something to figure it out. Since then, I put signs, no cigar sale, 2 signs, and it's locked, but I want to move it, and I pay $300 for that. Thinking one day I can use it. There is no humidor in it. There is nothing to sell. It's just, I don't know where to put it because it doesn't fit through the door, the basement. The door is, and going down the stairs, it will hit the ceiling. So I want to see what I'm going to do. Maybe I scrap it, and it was bad investment, definitely. Okay. That's as far as this lock. I don't know. It's just happened when they came. Nobody tried ever to open that door. If a customer came before to buy any cigar, it would fall, and I address the problem. And I'm very sorry for what happened. But, you know, I didn't intend not to sell cigars, and the lock was just a, fake. It's not.
Tom?
Well, let's see,
Basically,
yeah,
we're here for a revote, but
great. Well, I think as part of it, it's kind of recommended that we kind of revisit this as an initial conversation, so kind of go through the discussions again was advised. As I had in the last meeting, my issue was the phrasing of an unlocked cabin humidor. And the question was, and I don't know if we actually validated it, whether or not the mechanism, there was a lock on the humidor. Obviously, there was something wrong there because apparently the lock fell off and the humidor was able to be opened. But it had never been validated that I heard that the lock itself, the mechanism, was actually in a locked state versus an unlocked state. That had never been determined. It was possible that the mechanism on the glass, I remember the picture of it, may have been, just wasn't loose or somehow not secure enough. able to move the glass and the lock fell, but the question I have is whether or not the lock was in a locked state or an unlocked state. Because that's what we're kind of citing as the violation. I know in what was mentioned from a CMR perspective was saying this is a state violation. And in the wording that was being used for the violation from CMR, there's no reference to an unlocked humidor or an unlocked cabinet. It talks about the display or tobacco being available for self-service. We in our local regulations do have a specific element about an unlocked case that we cite in our local. But in the language that was being used to reference the violation from the state perspective, there was no language about anything being locked or unlocked. It's about self-service. So, I had a question myself about whether or not that should apply in this case as a violation.
Joyce?
It's a difficult situation. You know, I try to be a rules follower. And again, and my understanding is that there were some old cigars in there in the humidor.
They're all broken. They're still there. I didn't move them. I was gonna bring some, but I could bring two. And then there is about 20 cigars, but they're all broken. Like you hold it and it fall apart because there is no humidor, to keep it moist. So even there is holes in them from insect.
Who would want that process?
And there is no prices or anything. Now, when you lock the lock, there is a little nipple, a steel nipple. Doesn't let the two glass doors slide. It was locked. And when you pull and it's locked, but the lock fall down, So I know it was locked, okay? And the cigars, you're supposed to have a humidor in the bottom attached to electricity with water, still water, so it will keep making steam and stuff. Colleen should know it was nothing there. It wasn't working a humidor. It was the way I bought it, and I left the cigars because they were old when I bought it, okay? And I never did anything. I don't have a sign. It says cigar sale, nothing. All we do is we sell like two kind of cigars, small cigar in packs. And because the regulation, you can sell flavor cigar, we only have like two. And it's not even, we don't have cigars like other stores. You go in and they have collection of cigars. We don't. And if we sell cigars, I smoke them all.
Anything else, Joyce?
No, I just, I try to be a rule follower. Again, the locking and the not locking is problematic in my mind.
We've established that the lock was on the humidor, but just because it was on the humidor doesn't mean that it was locked position, as Tom pointed out. When our inspectors slid the door, the lock fell off. I think it would be safe to say that the lock was present, but it wasn't locked. It's supposed to be a locked cabinet. I mean, we had another local convenience store that the same thing. The lock was a flimsy lock and it fell right off. Yeah, we had to follow the rules. Colleen, is there anything else you'd like to add to this?
No, I stand by the regulation and don't be captivated by whether or not it was a humidor or not. It's a display case. Doesn't necessarily have to be a humidor, but it does anything, it has to be locked. If you took those cigars out of there, Abe, then it's just a case.
I didn't think really of it because I thought it's locked.
Mm.
It's it's a motive. I didn't have motive to sell cigars.
Oh, no, I believe you.
It was locked. Now, nobody ever opened it. How would I know it's gonna fall? It's, you have to give the benefit of the doubt, okay? That things was sometimes created, it's an accident. I shouldn't be at fault. I should be probably as far as maintenance, like check, make sure, but I didn't come to my mind because I thought all along it's locked. Nobody ever opened that thing, ever. For years, it'd been sitting there. And, it happened. If that lock hold up, I wouldn't be here. It should just fell down. And when it fall down on the floor, was locked. Now, if you want to go to any place and just be very, very technical, you can find many violations. I can find a violation in anywhere I've not. But is it really, sometimes you have to educate people. Because when you say the law says, if I spit on the sidewalk, I can get arrested. If I don't have $1 in my pocket, I can get arrested. Are you gonna enforce this law? I think education is very important. Now I tell you something, as a businessman, I have to evaluate. Should I sell cigarette? I really don't. I don't care about selling cigarette because if I'm gonna get a fine 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000, what good is it? You make 50 cents on a pack. Every week you have to change the prices because every week they go up. You have to always make sure that that there is a minimum. Now, am I serving the public by selling cigarette? I don't think it's a good service to begin with. I think if you want to go and educate people about smoking and spend money, I'll give $5,000 now for education of non-selling cigarette. Right now, on camera, I would do it. But not to say, okay, the lock fell and the law says, if you go to that door handle and you turn it, a door never been used, and the lock for some reason, the handle fell down, okay, you're in violation. Things happen. I'm not sorry for it. I don't feel, okay, accountable. Okay, because I have probably in that business, about 20 locks. Do I check every one? Absolutely not. Because I locked them and they were working when I did. So after education, I think is the key. If you want to educate people in Upton to quit smoking, if you want to raise the age in Upton, like Brookline and other town, that you cannot sell cigarette unless you're 25 years old or older, I think it will be much better than there is other ways. Okay, and I'm not saying the fine is gonna break me. I'll close it. I will say state application and time, town application and time, and I wouldn't sell cigarette. I'll sell $20,000 in gas a day. Why would I care about the cigarette?
Last thing I'll say
It's-
before we vote,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. We do have.
And I want to say one thing. Last time I had temper. I shouldn't. Okay, it's not my character. Okay, it's me. It's not me. So you do what you think is right. Okay, if there is a way legally, I'll go to the appeal court. I'll do it. Okay, it's matter of principle for me. Okay, and if I can be any help for the Board of Health, I'm willing to help in any way.
No, I understand and respect you, sir. And last meeting was out of character because you've come before us before and it was never like that. So I understand.
I just said.
Pauline is, one of the first things she says is educate people. She lives by educating people. When she goes into a vendor, she makes sure they have the proper signage, She tells them what to expect when there's gonna be an inspection. She tries to answer any questions that they may have. Education is the first thing that comes out of her for the convenience stores. Mendon was one of the first towns in this area to raise the age for smoking to 21 before the state. Okay, so you're doing business in a town that feels very similar to the way you feel. We do have to take a vote on this, and the vote would be,
Well, just before we do the vote, Mr. Chairman, I know as part of it the last time, and I have to repeat this as well. When we did the motion the last time, we didn't complete the process with a second, but I think we combined that motion with the other violation as well in the process of that motion. I don't think we didn't do two separate motions.
that's correct.
So we included the coupon redemption violation as part of that motion.
So where the coupon is still up in the air because the state hasn't ruled.
Yeah, it's just,
Separated?
just to inform the public, what happened at that last meeting was we discussed the issue about coupon redemption. And we were informed by the tobacco compliance officer, Kathleen, that currently there's litigation going on pending regarding coupon redemption. So we were advised at that point at this time, there was a majority view by the board to cite the violation that we suspended. That it not be at this time, not be put forward until there's a result of that litigation. So.
No, thank you for recalling that. I do need a motion for we're gonna revote the motion will be to uphold the $2,000 fine and a 7-day suspension.
Put in the period of time for the suspension, from what date to what date?
Whatever's convenient.
Okay.
Because you have to remove all tobacco, so we don't wanna.
Want to do like the end of the month? Want to do?
I don't care, honestly. It's 7
Okay,
days,
well, I
whatever
mean-
you.
I just want him to have
Obviously,
time too,
Product.
because you have to move product and we have to put up signage, the whole 10 yards.
I can take all the cigarette, put it in the back, just don't sell it or whatever you want.
Just out of curiosity, Mr. Chairman, do we actually have to then do really two motions to actually resolve the coupon redemption case?
We can,
Just to be
we can to be consistent.
official? consistent.
Yeah. All right, so let's do the easy one first. Let's do the motion to put a hold on the coupon violation.
Yeah, so the motion would be to suspend the,
Well, the other convenience stores, we put that on hold until the state rules.
correct, yeah, pending result of
We
litigation.
want to treat Abe the same way.
Absolutely.
So that the motion would be to put the coupon violation on hold. We have a ruling from the state.
Make a motion.
Do that.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
John,
Very sad.
Alan, aye. So now do you have some dates for us?
Well, I'm just thinking, as far as posting the whole 10 yards, so you want to do November 30th to December 6th, Dave?
Yeah, do I have the right to appeal this, like last time I asked?
Yes.
you do.
Okay,
Out of curiosity, I know you'd asked about a letter. Did
30.
you get that letter?
11:30.
No, because we have to revote it. So we had to, in the letter, we have to include the time frame for the suspension as well.
So there was no initial letter. So I didn't know at one point we needed to redo it.
Now, we will, so.
No,
then
what I'm
we're
getting
gonna
at is at that particular meeting, I know the letter was requested.
But we're gonna do a lot because nothing was voted on, so.
So you knew right after the meeting that we didn't actually,
So I knew when I was doing the minutes that there was something wrong.
okay, was that sometime after the initial?
Yeah. So no letter, you'll get a letter after the fact that you can contest.
I'm
okay.
just trying to understand how much of a time frame there
It's
was.
more than 10 days, so he has 10 days to either pay the fine or go to court and say, no, I'm gonna object to this.
Now, my question has to do with from the time we had the last meeting. and the gentleman had asked for a letter. Was there any letter sent
There was no letter sent.
before you happen to notice in the minutes that we actually didn't do it?
No letter was sent.
Correct, there's no letter was sent.
Yep, correct. So now we're gonna vote on the 7-day suspension
And the $2,000.
and $2,000.
So I need a motion.
Joyce,
Move that we do the 7 days and the money, $2,000.
and those 7-day suspension will be November 30th to December 6th. Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
I wrote it down, but I
Okay.
didn't say it. Okay.
There's no second, Mr. Chairman, you're gonna step down a second if you're gonna be voting for it.
All right, I will step down and second the motion. The motion is on the table. And now we have the opportunity to vote.
Tom, nay?
Joyce, yes.
Alan, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so you will get a letter.
Yep.
And you have the opportunity to contest it.
Okay.
In the meantime, get rid of those cigars. You know, might not be a bad idea.
Just take them out of that cabinet, Abe. and leave it-
Okay, I'll
leave
take
it
them out.
empty.
No problem.
Yep.
Can I ask you something, guys? Last time you voted, right? On what you voted? You voted $2,000 in 1 day. Is that wasn't valid vote?
It wasn't valid because it wasn't seconded. So the motion was made and that it died.
Okay. All right. Just to
Yeah,
understand.
no, so this time around, we sort of have an abridged version of violation. We had a motion and we had a second and we had a vote.
Okay.
And it's- again, on the motion for the coupon violation, that's on hold. Just like the other convenience stores, because the state hasn't made a decision.
So when we go to hearing, we can bring that too, right? The coupon, the whole violation.
It's really separate.
Yeah, it's not part of it. And I-
Well, your attorney can advise you.
Right, well, I spoke with your attorney. She called the office and I let her know what happened as far as the original motion. So she was aware of that. And, we'll send you the letter, or if she wants to contact the office tomorrow, Monday, and give us her contact information. Send her a copy of it as well.
Okay, and you can send it to me. I send it to her.
Okay.
Because there is another lawyer. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Okay, take care.
All right. Okay. We're gonna move on to 4A, 143, 145 Hartford Avenue. Gentlemen.
Oh, it's us, excuse me.
You're welcome to come up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Please identify yourself and who you're representing. Sure.
Good evening. My name is Doug Troyer. I represent 143, 145 Hartford Ave LLC. With me tonight is Nick Elias, who's one of the owners.
Hi, how are you?
And I have Rich Palella, who is on Zoom, who I believe has rectified his mute button. So if we do need to hear from him, I'm hoping that we will be able to.
Relationship to this?
He is, he's the real estate broker as well as the project manager for the proposed project that they are looking to put on this site.
Thank you.
First off, I'd like to thank Jack and Colleen. We spoke with them about 3 weeks ago or so about this situation. I'm looking for clarification mostly from this board pursuant to the new tobacco regulations that went into effect in, I believe, January of 2024, but actually enacted, I think, passed by the AG's office in August of 24, specifically the one about the distance between retail sites of the 1,000 square foot. I wanted to, but if you bear with me, I just kind of want to give you some facts as what this property owner has kind of gone through to where we are today. And then I'll make my request at that point. 143, 145 Hartford Street purchased there were 2 lots that purchased those lots back in May of 2020. It was right when the COVID epidemic was kicking in. At that time, they had the intent to construct a convenience store and gas station on that location. The properties had two single-family homes located on them, which were raised by the prior owner prior to the purchase of the property. At that time, those two single-family homes were served with water through an agreement with the town of Hopedale, and that's where they got their water supply. Once they were raised, they were no longer residential uses, and the property was sold with an intent to basically develop a commercial use on that site. We learned that after we purchased the property, when they were in preparations of proceeding with the due diligence and trying to figure out exactly what they needed to get from the town in order to get this project, they learned that that agreement with the town of Hopedale only pertained to residential uses. It did not pertain to commercial uses. So therefore, they didn't have any water to the site, which caused a tremendous problem for any commercial use or any use that they were looking to develop on that property. At the time, they were looking to, and they were actively marketing the property, and they had several deals. They had a deal pulled together in January of 23 with a Yadam Ventures for a ground lease for a convenience store gas station on the site. Unfortunately, that deal fell through because the water service issue had not been resolved. They had another agreement entered into in April of 24 with Colbera Enterprises for a ground lease, which will be a Seasons Corner Mart with a Shell gas station. Unfortunately, the water issue still had not been resolved at that point. In May of 2023, the Abuddy property owner, 147, property was purchased, and that was ultimately approved for a C-store gas station late in 23. And I believe that site is now either fully constructed and operational, or it's almost to that point. That site didn't have the same issue that our site had. That site was large enough that if they wanted to put in their own septic system, they would be able to. Our site was such a size that we were unable to locate a septic system on our property because of a 100-foot radius that we had to basically have. Unfortunately, they didn't have the same issue that we did. At around the same time, Blue Water Development was seeking to construct a warehouse property in town. They basically ran into a jam wherein, in order to improve the circulation at an intersection, they missed when the state did the improvements to that area. They neglected to take into account 18-wheelers that were going to go to and from those warehouses. We were approached by Blue Water and then ultimately the state to provide some land in the corner area there to allow them to basically fix that issue, allow that project to proceed, which was a huge tax revenue issue, benefit to the town, and then also improve the safety and welfare of traveling pedestrians and vehicles in that area. We sold that property to Blue Water free of charge. Blue Water was at the same time dealing with the town of Hopedale and town of Mendon Water Commission with the water issue that they were having as well. And we, at that time, asked Blue Water to potentially assist us because it was beneficial to both of us to petition the town of Mendon Water Commission to basically deal with the issue with the town of Hopkinton to try and get a commercial use to us. Unfortunately, that petition ultimately, that started in around September of 2024. It had taken us a long time to get in front of people that were willing to ultimately do something. And it was basically the actions taken by our client to try and be a great neighbor and try and basically do good for the town that in September 24, a request to the town of Hopedale for a full portable water supply for commercial use at the site was brought before the town of Hopedale, and the town of Mendon Water Commission brought that, to the best of my knowledge. That was ultimately finally approved in December of 2024. It was at their meeting on December 12, 2024, whereby certain properties, 147, ours as well, and some other properties were allowed to basically amend that 2018 agreement to allow commercial water to be used for that. The thing about the commercial water and the thing that really kind of made it work was for a commercial use, particularly a convenience store gas station, we were reducing the water take by 28%. Two single family residences use a lot more water than a commercial use, a C-store. And that was one of the arguments that we were trying to pitch, that the commercial use actually is not increasing the use, it's actually decreasing the amount of use that we had before. So that's how we ultimately, one of the arguments that was made to try and get the town of Hopkinton to agree to amend that agreement. It took, this year has been really difficult marketing. Retail has been really difficult, primarily because of what is basically tariffs, the unknowns of what construction cost is going to be. Really, interest rates have kind of finally started to go down. Things are looking better now, but at the beginning of the year, retail was really a difficult area for anybody to really pencil out whether or not it's going to be developing or not. So it took us until October 27th of 25 for another entity to basically approach us, and we entered into a ground lease for a C-store and gas station just recently at the end of October. At that time, for the first time, they didn't see the notices for the tobacco regulation, but when we started looking at it, we learned of the amendments to the tobacco regulations that went into effect in 24. Due to the amendment to tobacco regulations, specifically, as you all know, paragraph 10B provides that a new tobacco product sales permit shall not be issued to any new applicant for a retail location within 1,000 feet of an existing retailer with a valid tobacco product sales permit. A convenience store, and given the time period and what this property owner has endured, without a tobacco license, contrary to what he says before, it is a vital component for revenue. It just is what it is. So a convenience store without a tobacco license just doesn't work. We are before you tonight to determine whether, given the facts that I've kind of laid out to you, does this board have a discretionary power under your statute that allows you to grant regulations, to grant a waiver from section 10B of tobacco licenses? And if so, the applicant at that point would proceed with an application, but also a request for a waiver in such application. Like I said, my client's been delayed for 4 years. They honestly would have been first to the board before that regulation went into effect, but because of the water situation, that it's a tricky situation, and it took a lot of politicking, and I think COVID got in the way. And then during the time period that from 2003 to September of 2024, town council was going to prepare the amendment and submit it to Hopedale. But my understanding, that was a lengthy process. It took literally over a year for that to happen. So it was delays that were outside of our control that we really had no control over. And before we spent the time and effort of have Bowler Engineering as our engineering company, who has already put together a concept plan. But before we expend the monies to proceed with that and go to the planning board for the special permit that we need to do this, I wanted to come before you guys and ladies, good ladies, to basically find out, do you have the discretion to grant a waiver for that? And if so, then we would come before you. At that point, you can listen to my argument again, hopefully more brief, and see if it's an opportunity for this landowner who has shown to be a good neighbor to try and have an opportunity to finally proceed with a convenience store gas station that they're looking to do. I am happy to answer any questions you have. Like I said, I have Nick, who's one of the property owners here, and Richard, probably to get some questions, be happy to do. And again, I want to thank Jack and Colleen for allowing me to come before you guys and make this request. I know it's kind of unusual to make a request to see if I can do something, but it is expensive to permit these projects. And before we really put a lot of money and effort into it, I want to see if it was a possibility for this board. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Understood. Tom?
Will we play that whole thing again?
I can say it in 5 words, maybe.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Please help my client out if possible.
Well, as you're aware, we do have an article in our tobacco regulations specific about distance and so forth.
Yeah.
And the application of somebody obtaining a permit and the guideline behind it. I would ask, was your site plan put before the planning board and approved at all prior to these dates? Was there any plan at all that was?
We didn't proceed with planning board primarily because we had to resolve the water issue. It's very similar to, it's a similar situation I'm having with you guys on the tobacco. At that time, the water, without water, for commercial use, we were unable to basically proceed with commercial use of that property. So the water issue really took precedence on trying to get water to the site so that we can then proceed to the next step. And we, at the time, in December of 2024, we finally got to that opportunity, but we didn't have anybody who was willing to basically purchase the property, and we didn't know what that person who wanted to lease the property, what they wanted to do. It was actively marketed at a convenience store gas station, but that is the only retail use that has come in that has really stuck. So the answer is we couldn't have gone before the planning board simply because we didn't know what the end user was going to be. And we had to resolve the water problem first before we can get to that point. And unfortunately, due to COVID, due to the politics of dealing with two towns with a water agreement, and due to some certain delays that are outside anybody's control, we just got delayed 4 years. And unfortunately, certain things happened. And I realize what it is, but we're hopeful that the fact pattern that we present is something different from somebody else who's saying, hey, we want a tobacco license, we're within 1,000 feet. And, you know, we're just coming to the table. We, from the very beginning in 2000, have indicated that we wanted to do convenience store gas there. That was the whole reason and the whole purpose of going for water for commercial use. We finally ultimately got it. And then the tobacco regulation came to light, and we weren't really aware of it until afterwards. And as soon as we started looking at what we needed to do, it came up. And that's why I approached Jack and Colleen about 3 or 4 weeks ago to try and get a sense as to whether or not, are we dead in the water on this, or is this a fact pattern that would allow this board to feel comfortable in using its discretion to consider a waiver of that regulation.
You know, the other aspect, aside from the plan that we kind of put into the regulation, that date that we put, also kind of had to do with the distance of one location selling tobacco from another location.
Yeah.
And I think logistically, distance-wise, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they would be well under the distance.
We would.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
We would.
Considering that right next door you have the newest.
Same one. Yeah.
We would. Unfortunately, there's that new convenience store that's literally.
Yep.
It's 78.3 feet. The existing World Liquor Store is 314 feet. And the Sun Farms convenience store is around the same. So we are within it. And I realize that unfortunately, this would not have been an issue if we would have got in before January of 24, but because we hadn't resolved the water issue, we weren't in a position where we can actually apply for anything, and we kind of got stuck with it. This has been an owner who has really tried to work with the town to make this corner work. This is a perfect site for another commercial use. Granted, there's a convenience store, there's a gas station, but that's where gas stations go. That's just where they go. That's where they work. That's why it's a very reputable site location. And he purchased it at a time where he would have had the opportunity to get everything done in 2021, probably 22, given the COVID situation, but realistically would have been able to get through if it wasn't for the water issue. And the water issue was just something that we got bogged down in the politics, and it took a considerable amount of time to rectify that wrong. And we are hoping for some leniency because we feel like we are a different type of applicant than somebody else who may be coming to you to seek a waiver. That's why I went through the lengthy kind of narrative, because I wanted you to know the facts that what this owner has actually done to try and help the town. And I think it has. And we're hopeful that there may be some discretion. Thank you.
Well, those would be the 2 points that we just want to make with regard to our structure of our current tobacco regulations that we have in play. Moment, I'll defer to colleagues to provide any other questions, comments.
I know this is gonna sound a little crazy, but
Yeah.
As a person, as a nurse and a health, I think that tobacco is wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for anybody. So in my opinion, I would say
Sorry.
it would be really, I think, healthy if you said, I'm not gonna do tobacco. I would like that.
Yeah.
I think that that's important for the community and, I mean, causes death and all kinds of things. So in my opinion, it's not a good product.
Understood, understood. Um,
You have regulations for a reason. As I mentioned previously, Mendon came on board for that age of 21 rather early
Yeah.
in the state of Massachusetts.
yeah,
So that's the direction that the board chose and continues to choose to go in.
yep,
I wasn't even aware that 25 was on the table at this time. I know that tobacco is going to get phased out. And I believe that's what Abe was referring to.
yeah, eventually.
As
Currently, no, but eventually I agree with you. I'm hopeful.
it's a dying
Yeah,
industry.
because I agree with, Ms. Gilmore. I mean, it is a nasty habit, it's a nasty thing, but reality is that for a convenience store, it is probably 15-20% of the profit of a convenience store. Gas is probably less than tobacco. Lottery sales, tobacco, and then the produce. So that's why they are fighting so hard to at least have an opportunity to try and do what they want to do on the site. It's not even a guarantee that they go to the planning board, they get this. But for them to even have an opportunity to do that, we needed to kind of get a sense of what it is. I agree with what you're saying. Unfortunately, it's a business situation where it's a product that that is part of that type of, that's where you go to buy that product. And hopefully someday they are phased out. I agree. But right now, that's not the time.
We did have a situation recently with the neighbor. When they came before us for a tobacco
Yeah.
permit.
Yeah,
But they had a site plan in front of the planning board.
yeah.
Prior.
They were able to proceed because they knew exactly what they were looking to do. Yeah.
So my opinion is to be consistent and treat everybody equally. And I understand business.
Yep.
I appreciate the efforts that you've made to better the intersection.
Yep.
And, we wouldn't be consistent if we were to allow this to go forward.
Okay.
And we tried really hard to be consistent.
I understand. And that's.
If I may, may say a few words. Thank you, board members, for allowing us to come before you this evening. As council mentioned, Mr. Elias purchased this property in May of 2020. He's been paying taxes for that 5-year period and has not been able to generate any income from that property. He's also been paying water charges, even though he doesn't have access to water. We had a deal in tow with a very good, well-known C-store gas station operator. We could not do, and again, any of these deals is what we call in our industry tenant-driven. We can't go before the planning board and present something without knowing what it is that we're seeking approval for. We had that use, but that use was contingent on our getting water. It was not the fault of Mr. Elias because there was this agreement between the towns of Hopedale and Mendon. And over a year was wasted when the town was going, the town of Mendon was seeking to amend the existing agreement, which was signed back in 2018. And the amount of time that was wasted as a result. And the two towns just kept on pointing fingers at one another. Oh, you have to go to Hopedale. If it's fine with Hopedale, then it's fine with us. You go to Mendon, and the town of Mendon says, it's not our responsibility, it's Hopedale's responsibility. And our client was caught in the middle of this. During that period of time, we had 3 deals lined up with very reputable C-store operating companies. They all needed water. We hired Bowler Engineering to show quantitatively that the amount of water usage that the gas station C-store would need was 40% less than what the 2 residential homes that previously occupied that property. Could we put a fast food restaurant on that? Possibly, but the amount of water that they would require would exceed what the gas C-store operation would require. So we were hemmed in on from all sides, as I've just indicated. During that period of time, well, our abutter was able to go through site plan approval. They had their tenant in tow. They also had given the configuration of their land that they could put in a well. They didn't need the water from Hopedale because they could put a well in. Our site doesn't lend itself to that. We would have had to acquire both properties abutting us that front onto Cape Road. What we would have had to pay, assuming that those owners would have even entertained selling their property, would have made the property totally financially infeasible. So, we looked at different options to try to make this work, to help expedite this, but it wasn't there. And so, but during that time, Mr. Elias has been paying property tax. He's been billed for water charges, even though he doesn't have access to water. So what we're looking for is a little bit of fairness. Our understanding is that there's one tobacco license left in the town. Does it really matter if that license was to go onto the subject property versus another location in the town?
Sir, if I
So-
may.
Do you know if that was a rhetorical question?
Yeah, sir, when you're done, I would like to speak.
Yes, you've heard what I've had to say,
Okay,
We're just looking for some fairness.
No, thank you very much. What I heard, and what I would like to ask the question
Yep.
is, the Realtor mentioned a fast food restaurant. If you were to market it as a fast food restaurant, would you have been able to put a well in?
No,
No, we
No.
wouldn't be able.
we don't have the land area because per Title V, we need to have a 100-foot buffer around where the location of the well. And where we could put the well, because of the odd shape of the property, we would not be able to meet that 100 buffer per Title V.
Yeah.
We
so
would have to buy 2 pieces of land, the 2 abutters on Cape Road, and they're not sellers.
Richard, Chair's got a question.
Yes,
Yeah, the reason I asked about the convenience store and a well is
Yeah.
you would have been able to not deal with Hopedale water. Because you brought it up as that was an option. That was something you were
Oh.
thinking of as far as what to do with that property.
I think that was a misstatement. In order to do any commercial use on the site, we needed to deal with that 2018 agreement because that agreement specifically says for residential use only.
Right.
So anything non-residential use, we had to basically deal with the water issue. That's what it was. And he marketed it for other uses. Unfortunately, the only uses, given where that site is and given that is a prime time convenience store gas station site. It just is. It's not a prime time restaurant. It's not a prime time type situation.
I didn't know what the other options were.
Yeah,
Might have sped the process up for you.
it wouldn't have
Because you could've
been,
used a well versus dealing with.
we wouldn't have
Honestly.
ever been able, well, no.
We
Ever.
could not have put a well in because we didn't have the width of the lot in order to accommodate a 100-foot buffer around where the well would be located on the site.
That's why I wanted to ask that question where you threw that option out there.
Yeah. I think it was a misunderstanding, or misspoken. In order to do any commercial use on that property, they needed to deal with the water issue. So there was nothing commercial wise we could do on that site without dealing with water issue.
And just for my own
Yeah.
information, what is the sewerage option for that property?
What is the sewer option?
Yeah.
Richard, do you know?
It's
There is no-
septic. It's on septic.
Okay, so that complicates the water too, because of
Yeah.
the distance that you have to be
Yes,
septic system.
100 feet. Yes,
Septic.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, we couldn't do a septic system on the site at all. That's
Okay.
that, I'm not an engineer, I do those. So yeah, it's a septic system we were unable to do on that property. That's why we had to have a connection.
Okay.
And the only connection coming was from the Hopedale, given all the other agreements that the town of Midland has.
Tom, back to you.
Well, I guess the question is, are we looking to actually make a vote this evening, or are we looking to maybe take this under advisement or?
I don't think it's a vote. Yeah, I apologize. There's not an application before you. This was a meeting to discuss. But yes, I would love to hear from you guys and what the positions are. So I apologize if I misinterpreted.
Okay, so without a vote, and without a motion,
Would you like to talk to Colleen about this?
I'm sorry. Colleen.
You have any input?
Yeah, we do.
I'm forgetting you. I apologize.
That's okay. I think that they were just here seeking information, and if there was a possibility that the board would entertain some sort of a variance from the setback requirement. I think that's all they're looking for is if the board would even consider it, right?
That's correct. And if it was possible, then we would proceed with both our applications to the planning board and with this board at the same time, with hopes to basically prove to both the planning board and this board that the project that they're looking to do is a fine project, a perfect project, and a well-developed project that would end up being safe for the community as well.
So it's just a matter of if the board is inclined to entertain that thought. And I don't know that it's something that you guys have to decide tonight. I mean, you could think about it and send a letter or decide tonight that there's no further need to discuss the matter.
I think that's kind of the way I understood it and how I was probably asking Tom.
Well, in truth and in fairness, which I like to think I am, I would say I'm all right with that. I mean, I'm an idealist
Yeah.
and I want no one to be smoking, but that's stupid. And I recognize that. So I'm willing to give you that
Opportunity.
opportunity.
Tom?
I would say give opportunity to,
To be able to have his,
Application filed before
For
tobacco
smoking.
license. For smoking.
or through the app, before an application.
right,
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't want to deny the the opportunity at all.
Right.
No, by any means. I guess to gentleman's point though, realistically, from the board's perspective, having them go through all these steps in this motion, you're probably looking to get an idea before you
A
can
straw poll, basically. It's an idea. If it was
concept.
before you, is it
Right, of doing those things. What's the likelihood of that application getting approved? Based on what we've kind of already talked about tonight. I think that's kind of it.
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
I would be willing to discuss it more. I just want to make sure that we treat everyone the same. Again, I am appreciative of what you've already done to try to be a good part of the town.
Yeah.
That is a really tough intersection.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you worked with the warehouse. We try to work with others to get things done that are going to better the community. So I see some positives. But again, where we have regulations, we design the regulations so that they apply to everyone. Before I were to vote, I want to make sure that I fully understand that I can treat everyone the same. We, you know, like I said, we had a situation where someone already had a plan before planning and applied for a license within that 1,000-foot.
Yeah.
So I need to think about it for a while.
Yep. Understood.
And I certainly don't want to see you guys spend any more money in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I understand business and investing.
Yep.
That's where I am.
Okay.
And I would entertain the same thought. I'd be happy to give it consideration and, you know, think it through a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and from our position, I feel like that is one fact pattern for the store next door that got in before the regulation went into effect. They filed their application before. I feel like there's other fact patterns that the board could consider that are different from the rest and treat certain applicants different. I feel in our case, given the facts that I demonstrated tonight, that is such a description that we're hopeful that the board may take into consideration as discussion. So again, I really thank you all for your time. Again, thank you for setting this up so we can have this conversation.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.
You're on mute, Richard. You're still muted. Down technology.
All I was saying is, thank you
There you
all
go.
for giving us this opportunity.
Very
Thank
well.
you, sir.
You all have a good evening. Thank you for some.
You too. Thank you.
Have a good one. Downstairs?
What?
Is there restrooms downstairs?
Right there,
Actually,
right in
back
back
that way.
here.
Definitely, yeah.
I have no idea what we are. 4B. All right, 4B, senior discount application review and discussion. We all have that in our packages.
So as you recall, the board needs to decide on how we're gonna do the senior discount for fiscal year 27. And I need to get the finalized board's blessing to Ellen, so it goes in with the census. It's gonna be submitted to wherever she submits it to by the end of November.
Well, the first question I have is, how many here read all 155 comments that were submitted on this? I did.
I like the serious ones.
Like who?
The ones that, the people that were serious,
Well, there was some, most of it was,
you know, there were a few that
a couple
I
that
didn't-
were tongue in cheek.
helpful, but
Well, all they, I thought they were very helpful. You know, from my perspective, we're really kind of telling the story. it kind of sums up what those questions, those comments were about. I did go through them. I read each of the comments and, made different notes about different things and different viewpoints, but overall, this kind of tells me, first question right off the bat is, would you recommend leaving the senior discount program as is? And 62% said yes, 34% said no. So overwhelmingly, the people feel that the program shouldn't change.
2 to 1.
Yeah. And you had another question here. Would you recommend an adjustment to the discount percentage currently in place? 60% said no. 31% said yes. Overwhelming to kind of not change that element, right? There was a question about, would you recommend an annual flat rate discount be applied versus a percentage discount? Again, 61% said no. 25% yes, overwhelmingly keep that percentage. And the last question was more of a 50-50, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit. Would you recommend an added requirement of limiting household occupants? And that was a little closer in the vote. 50% said yes to that, and 42% said no. And we've kind of thrown that out amongst ourselves before the past, whether or not that's something that we'd want to amend. I mean, that's the only, at the moment, I think the structure of the senior discount, based on the survey, says don't change anything.
Right.
With the exception of that last element, would there be a consideration for limiting the household? There was a time historically, I'm not sure when it changed. It was there.
Correct.
Right.
It was there. And at some point, it did, back in my first term, it was there, and somewhere along the line, it got pulled out, and I can't exactly tell you why.
So that was before me, but I agree with that line of thinking and what the respondents chimed in on, because I know we looked up an address where there were 8 occupants
Right.
from the age of 1 to 80 something.
Right.
And there was only 180.
So, even though
Right.
they filled the other criteria, that is definitely not what the program was designed
Right.
to do. The program was, as we discussed in the past, it was designed to be respectful to our senior citizens. And it was designed to, that they're not going to generate the volume that a family of 5 is going to generate. So I would be perfectly okay with putting a head count.
Along with that, I'll just throw out a variable here. Because of, I'll say, social changes. Senior citizens have kind of become more involved with maintaining their support with regard to either grandchildren or children, just because of the way economics have been, right? And so you might have a situation where somebody might be a senior in their home, but yet they have a child or 2, could be an adult, but maybe not an adult, but that for whatever reason, due to economics, have had to come home, to come back to get, to stay afloat, basically. And I know we have those situations out there in town. The concern that I would have in limiting it to the 2, typically we're thinking husband and wife, is that we're now not accounting for that other variable. That could be a realistic, honest thing to be considering. And also with regard to that one example, we had the 8. To me, that's a one-off. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, that we really have a situation of concern for abuse of that.
I did break down the census. There was an initial report that I gave you
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah,
It showed you all the addresses from the senior discount,
Yeah,
how
we
many
had-
people were living by the
Yeah.
census.
we had some 5s and some 6s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That 8 was kind of.
the 8 was just the largest one.
Right.
So in that area, say, we'll take the 8 being a one off, go back more toward a 3 or 4 type of thing. Would you say that that's kind of a percentage?
I'd have to look at that sheet again.
You know?
You still have it? Anybody still have it?
I don't know, I didn't, you mentioned it, I kind of forgot about that one.
I think 4 is reasonable.
See, I was even considering 3.
I mean, when you think about a quote unquote, say typical family of 4, say a younger couple, 2 children, right? Or, older children, 10, 11, 6, right? What would they generate in trash production versus like a senior couple who might have a couple of children back home or a grandchild or a couple of grandchildren? I would still think not as much at that point in life, right?
It wasn't happening.
So, that thought about using 4, when you're talking about a senior home, this is 4 on an average family of younger people bringing a family up. I think the generation of trash is still gonna be limited. In my view. I mean, with all the comments that we got, there was a lot of great information that came from that. And so many different viewpoints. There's no way that we're gonna be able to cover all that commentary in a program.
All right.
I think the best we can do is this result of, in general,
Right.
comments, right, on the key questions. And, do we want to apply, whether or not we want to apply it. I think if you go to 2, I think we're gonna create an adverse effect for a group of people that, for whatever reason, somebody else has to be in that home for some reason.
And I totally agree with that. Because it could be a family member that moved home to be a caregiver.
Caregiver.
Okay, it could be, a child that needs to stay at home for whatever reason.
Mhm.
And so they never leave the nest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very common. Especially with, the cost of college education and stuff like that. Sometimes it's hard to get off the ground. So I know that I kind of had 3 in mind. And I'd be shooting myself in the foot because I have 4. But we fill 2 65-gallon toters with trash. I couldn't, with a conscience, when I get to that point, and I'm not that far off, apply for the senior discount.
And actually, there was a couple of comments in there that actually said just that. They're seniors, but they don't take the discount because they generate it. So, and I appreciate that honesty. It's also the part about one of the basic reasons why we did this program to begin with, and that was to give something back. And, seniors continue to contribute to the support of the town in many ways through their taxes on things that they have no part in anymore because their children are grown, they're gone, yet their taxes help support, the community. And, it's very difficult to say, the part of the comment about, oh, I have no children in school anymore, but I'm paying for. That may be true, but you still want to know you have good schools in your system, in your town, because that goes to your property values. Plus, it also is just a good overall, good thing to have in the town. So at one time, I lived next to a couple, an older couple that didn't have any children. And they were all for that concept of paying those taxes.
Well, your infrastructure.
Because you got to support your infrastructure, even though they never had a child in the school system. But their position was, we know it's good for us as residents of the town to have that. So I would want to follow the results of the survey. And I think Pauline's got we're going to give a number to it. I think I would more favor the 4, to be honest with you. And I think we're talking 4 adults.
Well,
We're not thinking children.
now, when you say 4, are you thinking 2 of them are automatically husband and wife seniors? Because what if there's only 1 senior in the house? Like say 3 adults?
Yeah, it's a four-person household.
All right, I just want to clarify, because I need to be specific, 100% when this gets out.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, we could name a bunch of scenarios that would fluctuate that count,
Right,
but it wouldn't be a permanent fluctuation.
right.
In fact, those people might not even get picked up in the census. I mean, let's just say that, God forbid, one of your children goes through a divorce and has to move home for a while with 2 kids. They might not even hit the census because it's hopefully, it's a short-term thing, family helping family. And that little fluctuation in the trash isn't gonna matter. You know, the seniors wouldn't lose their discount because they had to open their home to their family temporarily. So I could go with easily with 3 or 4 adults. Adults generate the trash, you know. And I mean, you're right, you could have 1 senior. I mean, you know, unfortunately, you could have just 1 senior in the household, but that would give you some room. I mean, we can't cover every scenario.
Right.
We probably, because we know not only these results, but we know the cost of the program. We do need to tighten it up a little bit.
Well, the other part of it that came out was options as far as what we're doing for a trash program. One of the things that was mentioned was, you know, some communities do pay as you throw. Right? Upton does pay as you throw, or buy the bags, right? But there's still a service from the company that you still got to pay for. And so, yeah, you could say people are buying bags for their particular usage of trash. But is the service that communities so divided amongst everybody equally as far as the household goes, right? I don't know if that option is any better than what we're doing.
No, pay as you throw. I mean, the thing is that then you'd need additional admin support. I did the pay as you throw program
Good point.
years ago, and it required a considerable amount of admin support. But the other thing too is that if you have bags available in, like, you know, retail stores, that and keeping track and the money and whatnot and everything. I think that the way that the town has it set up, and most towns do, I know the other town that I work in, is you overall providing a trash service, and they are paying for it, you know, through a user fee, but the limitation is gallons. If you do have you kind of have this pay as you throw program. It's garbage.
We do.
Exactly. So what you're doing is, you know, you're putting the burden on the user. So if you can't comply with the 65 gallons, it's kind enough to provide another option. And you can come down and purchase stickers and you can put them in bags. So you are in fact allowing for more tonnage per household than the 65 gallons.
60.
Yeah, 130
Yeah,
gallons.
up
So
to 65.
that's a lot. So curbside.
Yeah.
And I think in conversations with Bill, our driver in the past, for the most part, even most of the households are getting to that one, just the 165,
That's what he said.
right? So,
That's a lot of 130 gallons per household is a lot. A lot of communities are less than 100 gallons per household.
For adults, I would say we consistently come up with 9.
Yeah.
3 trash bags.
So we have 9.
I need that, not other total, but I only have to put 1 bag in it.
Right.
Because that's how we pick it up.
Yeah.
If we do some cleaning, fall cleaning,
Yeah.
that'll generate that other.
The holidays.
That's why I said I would have a hard time going for the senior discount, even though I've been waiting for it. Because I got 2 adult kids,
Mhm.
you know, and I'm glad they have them, but, you know, I couldn't justify it.
well, I thank you on behalf of the resident of the town for not wanting to take the discount.
Well, not at this point.
See, it could change,
Yeah.
right? It could change. Joyce?
Well, for us, I mean, I don't always put trash out every week even, because, you know, we're very conservative in doing everything that we do. And I mean, and I have my studio where I generate a lot of textiles.
Mhm.
So I have a person that comes and picks them up privately and brings them up to Worcester to the nuns. So, I mean, we're very conscientious. We also have in our kitchen, we have an old wood stove that, you know, lots of times we will put the wood in and then, you know, throw in the tissues and stuff when you walk by and throw it in there. And so, you know, I understand of what you speak, and, you know, again, I would, you know, I tend to be a Pollyanna, so I think people aren't cheating, but sometimes they do.
So do we want to put a head count on it?
I think it would be reasonable, plus it would also kind of go to the majority view that there should be a count limit. And I think I think the 4 is a reasonable number
Want to make a motion?
to,
For extra or for,
4 total adults in a
Okay.
household. So
Right,
as
okay.
part of this form
I just wanted to make sure that.
and the requirements, we have another one that would say
Right.
limit of 4 adults in the household.
Right,
And I don't think, we used to at one time, we used to actually ask that. I don't think we ask that anymore, like who were the, right?
No, we just,
But we used to, didn't we?
the property owner, who is the property owner?
Just the
And list
property
other property owners on there.
Did we ever ask though, like, have a breakdown at one point about who the occupants were? No,
No, that was property owners.
just property owners.
We
Okay.
have access to that with the
Was the
census.
census correct?
So we
For the
can see
census.
what they.
Yeah.
use that.
So I would say at this point, I would make a motion to modify the current annual traffic renewal application for senior citizen discount to include an added requirement that the household have a limit of 4 adults.
And an adult is 18 or older.
I would say,
I guess 18 versus 21.
yeah,
I don't know.
We may have to be that specific.
Yeah, because somebody may ask, what do you mean by
Yeah.
adult?
18.
18? Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
second
All in favor?
John, I.
choice, I.
Alan, I.
Okay. Are you available next week?
Yeah.
And you and I go together, go over the form together?
Sure.
All right. And once the form's done, the board good with me just submitting it to Ellen? When
Absolutely.
Tom and I have it finalized?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, correct, yeah.
Gonna add, basically want to add one little.
I want to read that much a little bit more,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
knowing that it's gonna be 4,
18 or
Right.
older.
Right,
all right, thank you.
Very good. And we'll see how that runs. No, I think the 4 is generous. I mean,
I do. I think it's realistic.
I just gotta get to
Right.
65.
I think that's a better way. I think
Yeah,
it's realistic.
realistic.
we're gonna get you there.
All of a sudden, I'm looking forward to 65.
We're gonna get you there, baby.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Or if you don't mind skipping the
No, no.
regulations. Because I know we have a stop point
Right.
coming up,
So we're going to 4F.
if you don't mind, please.
All right, so, Board of Health minutes, for September 24, please. Anybody have any comments on September 24th?
I say, well done. Kudos, Jack.
Thank you.
Me too.
Thank you, Joyce.
See anything? So we'll have a motion to accept the minutes for September 24 as written.
Don't move.
I'll make the motion that we accept the meeting minutes for September 24th,
Second,
2025.
All in favor?
Tom, I.
choice, I.
Alan, I. Moving on, October 8, 2025. I have nothing.
Again, kudos to Jack. Nice job.
Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as written for Wednesday, October 8th, 2025?
I move that we accept the minutes of October
25.
8th.
No, October 8th, 2025.
Thank you. All in favor?
Joyce,
You have to
aye.
do seconds? Because that was an issue that came up with the revote.
Oh, there you go.
Remember?
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't hear.
Oh, so I was asking, do we actually have to we didn't second them. And I said
Yeah,
that was the issue that came up,
Yes.
or we did the revote, so we have to have a second.
I've heard
You
second.
did the second.
Yeah.
I thought you made the motion.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you need to,
You need a
Second.
second.
Come on, Tom.
Okay, I'll second.
All in favor?
John, I.
Joyce, aye.
Alan, aye.
Thank you.
October 22nd. I know Tom had one thing.
It's like saying the content was excellent. Nice job, Jack. That was a long meeting.
Thank you.
Captured it very well. And the only thing I saw was just on page 4 of 6. Second to last paragraph,
Page 4 of 6.
page 4 of 6, yeah.
yeah,
The 5th item on the agenda,
Okay, yep.
the second to last paragraph on that page. It starts out vice chairman.
Vice Chairman, yep.
I think the word was probably meant to be alarm noise versus
Yeah.
alarm nose.
yeah.
That's the only thing. Other than that, it was all.
Catch.
I
Nice
saw
job.
that. I saw that too.
Good.
It's not good.
All right, with that being said,
I'd like to buy a vowel.
we need a motion. To accept the minutes as written. That one correction for Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of October 22nd, 2025 with the one little word correction.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Tom, I.
Joyce, aye.
Alan, aye.
Thank you.
Where do I go from here?
6A.
Special town meeting discussion.
All right, so at the special town meeting last night, our warrant article for the wells, for the 3 new wells at the Old Mendon landfill had been approved. So I did contact Atlas this morning, talked to Jennifer Snee, and we are moving forward with getting those installed for the end of the year.
What was the dollar value that we had approved?
2022?
I want to say
22,000.
Yeah, 22.5.
Article 17?
Yeah. For some reason, I don't see it.
No, I think it's in that little
Yeah,
town administrator's booklet.
yeah. $22,000.
22 even. Good, cool.
Yeah, there's a 10% contingency. And that's it.
There were no, and the vote was, no issues with the vote.
No, it was part of the consent calendar.
Oh, yeah.
And my understanding is that's because the monies were available. There was nothing that needed to be appropriated.
Yep. Yeah.
No tax,
Awesome.
immediate tax. Okay,
So we would, just out of curiosity, so now it's been approved and we're gonna have to put the wells in. What do we have? We had an allowance from DEP till the end of the year,
Yeah, December 31st.
which I'm sure we could extend, right, if we need to. I'm just thinking in terms of timing for when they would probably look to do these wells.
I would say as soon as possible.
I told her as soon as possible. It sounds like when I talked to her beforehand, it sounds like it could be done within the next week or so.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know, I was just thinking too, we should probably send an email. I can send an email to, on Monday to Mr. McQuaid and let him know that it was approved at town meeting, just so that he's aware.
Yes, because we told them that we needed
Yeah.
protection for the town, special town
Right.
meeting.
Yep.
So, yeah, good idea.
That's a great idea.
Yep,
Now he'll see the progress,
correct.
right?
Yep.
And, for
What
some
they're looking
reason,
for.
it got delayed from, Alice's end. I'm sure Jim would not have a problem. Hey, by the way,
Oh, I have no doubt.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Always
no
very-
doubt.
And I told Jennifer to make sure that those wells, new wells are outside the edge of traffic.
Actually, I'll send him an email. I can send him an email, first thing in the morning. And let him know.
Coming to a head.
All right, so we're gonna move along, I would assume to 7A.
Correct.
Yep, health agent updates, 106 Millville Street, please.
106 Millville Street, is ongoing. I'm happy to report from our last meeting. Did go up there, and I spoke with, the Bonners. Jack came with me. We, inspected, the apartment and everything, and, there were no issues there. There was no one living in that camper. And as far as the houses, what they did is after, the meeting, Jack and I went up there. The barn where they're keeping them, there isn't necessarily a secure door there. So what they did is they took this long, it would look like it was the barn door. It's just not attached to it. And they turned it horizontally and they parked 2 cars in front of it so that that door, when the wind blows, was just blowing down and the horses are walking across it. So that hasn't, they have not been out since then. They have not been roaming the streets of Mendon and causing any type of nuisance or situation where a vehicle could have gotten into an accident with them. So there's no hazardous conditions. That's the word I was looking for. And so we have been working with them. They hired this gentleman named Clayton. He did go up there and he took away a considerable amount of that pile of manure that was there. He took a considerable amount. Unfortunately, as he was doing that, there was items in there that weren't manure that didn't necessarily belong in there. So it made it a little bit slower going for him because he had to now separate that refuse from the manure. Been working with the Bonners directly. They did have Ocean State vet go up there last Thursday. The vet inspected all 7 of the horses, gave them their health certificates. The Ocean State filed them with Canada because that's where they're going, to Nova Scotia, so that when they get to the border, they can cross the border. Also spoke with the property owners council, who is Ernie Hahn. And since the board meeting, let me back up a little bit, we received a complaint about the abandoned house that's beside it and the amount of debris. And then there was a trailer there with debris in it and whatnot. So I spoke with Attorney Hahn. We worked cooperatively together. That trailer has been removed and the debris. Also, there was a concern, I had the concern, Jack had the concern that they didn't have heat in the apartment where the Bonners are living. Come to find out the furnace needs to be serviced. It has been serviced and there's oil in the tank. So they are, for all intent purposes and based upon my discussions with them, I have no reason to doubt that it's not their intentions, but they will be leaving for Nova Scotia on November 20th. They have been informed by Attorney Hahn that, their tenancy will come to an end on November 20th. So from I just spoke with Elizabeth earlier today. She advised me that, the gentleman that's coming down to transport the horses, it will take him 10 days and he's in the process of that now.
Have there been, out of curiosity, since we met last with the group, animal control and Chief Kersey, any incidences that our police department has had to address?
The dog Rex got out, one dog Rex, a white German Shepherd, got out, and the ACO picked him up.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and the ACO picked him up. He's up at the regional animal shelter as we speak.
Now, will they be able to get those animals back ultimately?
You have to pay the fines.
Yeah, the fines, right,
Yeah.
okay, which is,
You
I
have to
think,
pay the fines.
rather expensive at this point, right?
I would say, I mean, I believe it's $160 a day per animal.
Oh, my God.
The total fines,
They were-
over $30,000. Correct.
So if they come to some sort of an agreement with them, I mean, that's, for them to work out. We are working towards assisting them with
Get
the
out.
patch.
That's
Get
all.
out of Dodge. Right,
Right, and they're very appreciative of it as well.
right.
Only question I have, you told me the gentleman that's gonna transport the horses, it'll take him 10 days.
To get from Nova Scotia and to come down here, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah,
but they're taking them all in one trip.
one trip.
So 10 days, they're gonna be beyond the 20th.
He was already
No,
one.
he's already on his way.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He's already on his way. They depart on the 20th.
Okay, that the only clarification.
You said equine had to put on the health papers on when they were crossing the border in Canada.
Yes.
It is November 20th.
Because that's timely, so that they put that date on there. And Ocean State also, in speaking with them, I mean, they've been very, very informative, very cooperative. They said that they needed the port in the United States that they're going out
Oh,
of.
interesting.
So they're going out of, I keep on saying that,
Bethel, Maine?
it's not Bethel,
Oh,
it's not,
Bethel's not on the coast.
Bethel's in the
On
middle.
the border.
yeah, it's, I'll think of it.
St. Jonesbury?
No, it's not that one either.
oh, I just,
I forget. But anyway, that's on the paperwork. So
Yes.
that's the only
Howland?
way. Oh,
Howland?
yeah, something like begin. That's the only way they can
Get over.
leave the United States.
That's interesting, yeah.
So that was all reported, and also, Ocean, State had to file them with, Mike Cahill from the state, and now, yep, MDA. And now that the government is back opened, hopefully things will move along now.
Right. Excellent.
Thank you.
So we'll keep you posted on that.
Tough situation.
Good job.
Yeah, I think Danielle kind of summed it up very appropriately when she spoke. That they were just overwhelmed.
Well, then, and the other thing too is that when Jack and I went there, it was what, the day after the
Yeah,
meeting? There, what was described at the previous meeting was not what Jack and I saw the next day. There was hay, there were piles of hay, there were oats, there was water. The animals were well cared for. Matter of fact, when Jack and I went back to check about the oil and whatnot, it was a little bit cold, and the Elizabeth, who's the mom, she had gone out and bought the goats pajamas.
Sure.
And the little goats were running around the barn in their pajamas.
Love it.
So, I mean, we've had a positive interaction
Yeah.
with them, and,
Did the
and,
pajamas have feces on them or?
No, they did not, no.
Oh, okay.
yeah, but they were the cutest little things, romping around in their pajamas. So anyway, I'm in, pretty regular contact with them. So
I was gonna ask if you had any, since you folks went out, did you have any follow-up conversations with, the group, whether it was Kevin or,
every day,
okay.
every day. Yep, you know, with them, the chief, the two chiefs. You know, we're gonna continue to do what we're doing and they have to do what they have to do too.
No, I know.
You know, and hopefully, and we've all been working cooperatively together.
Excellent.
As far as the food inspections, we are caught up till December 31st.
Excellent.
You had a month off?
No. I have other things.
You
Well,
do?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been busy.
I know, I said that facetiously. I know you always have something else to do.
Vanderbilt, did they have a whole thing with the Christmas trees and stuff? like
The weekend of Thanksgiving, they had a little event on the 8th, but they have their Christmas trees event is the weekend of Thanksgiving.
that?
And they, from what I'm told, they sell out in
Yeah,
those 3 days, gone,
yeah.
gone. I know I'm actually miss seeing them.
Something to look forward to when the seasons change.
Yeah, well, we have other events. I mean, Vanderbilt having the Christmas event and they're gonna have, you know, they'll have food trucks there. Then we have the Santa parade, so.
Keeps on marching.
Just
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah,
Very good.
so that's that.
Topics not anticipated within 48 hours.
I have none.
Well, yeah,
No. Good and welfare for the board.
Jack takes care of us.
We take care of each other.
The only thing I saw recently in the news is measles.
Oh, yeah.
That is so
In North
pathetic.
America, United States in
Right.
particular, but in North America. is on
Thank
the
you,
rise.
Kennedy.
Well, there was one notice we got, I don't know if everybody got it.
Of the
Recall
formula,
Product.
Yes, the
infant
baby
the
formula,
baby formula.
Yeah,
By Heart,
Yeah,
so the cases of botulism reported, not in Massachusetts, but, in other areas.
Yeah, I believe there was one in Rhode Island. That was
Rhode
noted.
Island.
Yeah.
So just something for folks to be aware of. If they purchase that product, they may want to go and, see what they have. And check the lot numbers. They have a reference in the notice what lot number is at issue. So they can act accordingly.
Very good. Next meeting.
All right, so it was discussed that we're gonna hold off on the second meeting of November, because that is the day before Thanksgiving. Unless something really pops up that we need to come together. So the first meeting in December would be December 10th.
6 PM.
6 PM.
That is a Wednesday.
That is Wednesday.
Very good.
December 10th.
scary.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Tom, aye?
Wait,
Sorry?
excuse me. Hello?
Yeah. Hello?
Hi there. I'm a resident. Am I allowed to speak?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hi, I am a neighbor to 106 Millville. And I heard what you were saying, and I am a little concerned that you are being maybe given wrong information. Myself and my family and the people that are with us have been the ones that have been chasing their animals up and down the roads for the last couple of months. I was outside in the street stopping cars on Halloween with my husband catching 4 of their horses. These women are never here. I don't know. I don't really know how to explain the situation. Every single time that we're there catching their animals, the stalls are absolutely disgusting. There's no hay, there's no water. They put it outside for show, and then they leave and they don't come back, and they block the doors with cars now, and the animals are not outside, they're not taken care of, they don't see the light of day, and they don't live in the apartment. They sleep in their cars or in the horse trailer. And there are several people that know about it, and they've said it to several people that they sleep in the horse trailer. I think that there is still a concern, and I think that it's not being taken as seriously as it should be. Their dog was on my front porch last Sunday digging through a bag of trash at 8 o'clock in the morning, like a raccoon. So that was an issue just recently, like the horses on Halloween. Um, I think that they are maybe trying to manipulate, and it seems unfair to the other people that actually care about the animals and the neighbors and the people that are driving down this road.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Did you hear the results of the inspections that have been done recently? Our health inspector and our administrator?
I did. And I'm glad that they are cleaning up. But if you go by there right now, there's trash everywhere outside. When I was there just the other day with the horses, I have pictures on my phone that there's feces everywhere. I'm glad that they're cleaning it up, and I'm glad for the owner of the property that they're doing that.
I would say that it's, an effort in progress, and that the Board of Health from the town of Mendon and the animal control officer and his department, along with the police department of the town of Mendon, have been working to correct this. I appreciate.
I appreciate them so much. They have been working with us. We have been working with them. They shine their lights so that I have light when I'm chasing a horse down the road. So I've been very thankful for them. And I've been hand in hand with Kevin running through neighbors' yards and driveways. So I very much appreciate them. And I know that they're working really hard. I'm just, I don't think that they're going to leave. It doesn't look like they're getting ready to leave. And I just want to voice my opinion because I am afraid for the animals, and I'm afraid for the people driving down Millville Street.
Ma'am, I appreciate that, and as heard, Colleen is in constant contact with the mother and daughter that own the animals, and the attorney for the landowner. Hopeful that where the date is set as November 20th, and the arrangements have been made, the documents to transport the horses have been generated. I'm very hopeful that in the next 7 days, there's going to be a resolution.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. There was just one other thing. About that, I think that that's wonderful. I hope that they're able to go back to where they're from and have a beautiful farm and take care of their animals where they're comfortable. And I think that that's very great for them. I'm confused as to how they're going to be able to do that when I was told by law enforcement and have seen on dockets online that they have pending charges. How can they cross the border and move to another country?
I can't comment on that because I don't have that knowledge.
Okay.
The only thing that I can say at this point is thank you very much for
No, I
what you.
appreciate you listening to me.
No, but thank you for what you've done to try to protect the animals and try to protect people that are going down Millville Street. An accident with a large animal can be very devastating. So, the efforts of the neighbors are, greatly appreciated.
The people that work for my husband and I have gone above and beyond, not only to help us and help them contain these animals, but feeding them and giving them water and actually caring for them when their actual owners are nowhere to be found for hours. So I want to make sure that it is known that these women that work with us have done that as well.
Well, thank you again. And I hope.
Just a follow-up question and just with, in follow-up to Megan's, comments. So since our last meeting, when you folks went out to the site, you saw, was it out of curiosity an isolated visit, or have there been multiple visits since our last?
Well, I know that on Friday night, there was an animal control issue where 3 police officers ended up having to show up, and one of the girls ended up in handcuffs. So there was an animal control issue just this past Friday. But before that, since the last meeting, I was chasing the horses on October 31st, and then their dog was on my porch after that. So there have been instances since the last meeting.
We will continue to stay on this.
Thank you.
And I'm going to be very hopeful that everything that we've talked about this evening is going to take place by November 20th.
I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. I hope the best for them. I just stay up at night and am afraid, and that's not a good feeling.
No, we understand and we appreciate you speaking up. We'll continue to monitor the situation for the next 7 or 8 days until it's complete. As you heard, the transportation is on its way in this direction, so it's we'll continue to be hopeful.
I am looking forward to the day when I can go to sleep and not worry about a car accident in front of my house.
Ma'am.
I think we have to vote.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Do the meeting
Yes,
over.
I'll make the vote to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Tom, aye.
Joyce, aye.
Al and I.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.